At a Sunday family roast, my mother-in-law, Dorothy Davis, pulled my sister-in-law, Cindy, into a tight, affectionate hug. And then, right in front of all our relatives, a sharp, stinging slap landed directly on my cheek. She spat out that I should learn to be more like her older daughter-in-law. My husband froze for exactly 3 seconds before he spoke. "Honey, we're leaving this house right now," Michael said. He then turned to look dead at his mother. "Mom, you can go live with Raymond." She stared at him, dumbfounded. The resounding crack of the slap still echoed through the living room, and all the air seemed to get sucked out of the space. My mother-in-law's hand was still suspended in midair. With her left hand, she was gripping Cindy's arm as if she were some rare, priceless treasure. "My name is Claire Miller." Pressing my palm against my burning cheek, deafened by the ringing in my ears, I sank into a dining chair. I just looked at them. So this is what a daughter-in-law is supposed to be in the Davis family. My mother-in-law's shrill voice shattered the silence. Look at her. Cindy manages all the household chores, takes care of us, and most importantly, she gave us a grandson, a healthy baby boy. And you've been married for 3 years, and you're still barren. You can't even cook dinner without almost burning the kitchen down. The living room was packed with relatives, 2 aunts, 3 uncles, along with their spouses and kids. Over 20 pairs of eyes were locked onto me. Some looked confused, others secretly enjoyed the drama, and a few awkwardly looked away. Cindy pretended to tug at Dorothy's sleeve. "Mom, please don't be like that. They're good people too." But the corners of her lips curled up into an unmistakable sly smirk, revealing how she truly felt. My husband Michael stood right beside me. I could feel his entire body go rigid. 3 years. I had been married for 3 years and endured everything in this family estate. The constant belittling from my mother-in-law, the passive-aggressive sabotage from my sister-in-law, the whispered gossip from the extended family. I thought that if I just tried harder, if I just loved Mike enough, everything would eventually fall into place. But that slap woke me up to reality. "Mom, what do you think you're doing?" My voice came out surprisingly calm. Even I was shocked by myself. "What am I doing? I'm teaching you a lesson." Dorothy planted her hands on her hips, spit flying from her mouth. "Right here in front of the whole family, I'm showing you how to behave in the Davis household. Learn from your sister-in-law on how to be competent and responsible." Cindy immediately looked down, feigning modesty. "Mom, please don't praise me like that. I'm just doing my duty." Holding my burning cheek, I looked up at Michael. He was looking at me, his lips pressed into a tight, hard line. In those eyes I had loved for years, a storm of emotions raged: anger, humiliation, hesitation. 3 seconds. He was dead silent for exactly 3 seconds. And in that moment, just as the last spark of hope in my heart was about to die, Michael moved. He took a step forward, placing himself right between me and his mother. "Mom." His voice wasn't loud, but in the deafening silence of the room you could hear a pin drop. "Are you done?" Dorothy looked taken aback, clearly not expecting this reaction from her golden boy. "Mike, what are you talking about? I'm just teaching your wife some basic respect." "My wife doesn't need to be taught by anyone," Michael cut in, emphasizing every single word. Then he turned to me and gently took my hand. "Claire, does it hurt?" Tears immediately welled up in my eyes, but I forced them back and just shook my head. Michael took a deep breath and scanned the room. "Aunts, uncles, I apologize. Our dinner ends right here tonight," Mike Dorothy shrieked. "Have you lost your mind? Everyone is still here." "Exactly, Mom. Because everyone is here, there are a few things that need to be made perfectly clear." Michael's voice became terrifyingly calm. "Mom, you are constantly praising Cindy. So starting today, you can go live with Raymond and his wife." What Dorothy and Cindy gasped in unison. Raymond, his older brother, stood up from the sofa. "Mike, what the hell are you saying?" Michael ignored them and continued. "Claire and I are leaving right now. Honestly, this house is legally mine. But since you despise my wife so much, we aren't going to live here anymore. You can go live with whoever you want." Whispers erupted across the living room. "Mike, just because of this woman, you're turning your back on your own mother." Dorothy's voice trembled, whether from anger or fear. I couldn't tell. "I just want basic respect for my wife, Mom. And it's clear you're incapable of giving it." Michael squeezed my hand tighter. Cindy went completely pale. She definitely hadn't expected things to escalate like this. She had hugged Dorothy to flaunt her superior status to the relatives. But now that mother-in-law had suddenly become a massive liability she didn't want to deal with. "Mom, Mike is just joking." She tried to diffuse the tension. But Michael was already pulling me toward our bedroom. "Come on, let's pack. We're leaving tonight. Don't you dare," Dorothy chased after us. "Michael Davis, if you walk out that door tonight, you can forget you ever had a mother." Michael stopped in his tracks. My heart pounded. I knew how much he valued family, how much he hated hurting his mom. Those 3 seconds of silence earlier had been his internal war. But now he slowly turned around, and in his eyes I saw a determination I had never seen before. You turned your back on my wife first. If I have to choose, I'm choosing Claire. With that, he didn't hesitate. He led me into our room and shut the door. From the outside, we could hear Dorothy's hysterical sobbing and the chaotic voices of the relatives trying to console her. Inside, Michael pulled me into a tight embrace and his voice finally broke. I'm so sorry, Claire. I'm so sorry. I should have done this a long time ago. You've endured too much. The tears I had held back for so long finally broke free. Your cheek. He gently stroked my red face, his eyes filled with pain and fury. How could she do that? How could she hurt you like that? I shook my head wanting to speak, but a lump in my throat stopped me. We're leaving right now, Michael said firmly. I have that downtown condo near the office. I was planning to rent it out. It's got basic renovations, but it's livable. We'll stay there for now. But your work. I knew he was at a critical stage in his career at the family firm. Moving suddenly would be a huge hassle. I can find another job, but I only have one wife. He held my face and looked at me dead serious. Claire, for 3 years I watched you swallow all of this for my sake. As time went on, you just got quieter and sadder. That slap landed on your face, but it felt like a knife to my chest. I will never let them abuse you again. Outside, Dorothy's wails grew louder. Michael, get out here right now. You ungrateful brat. Just because of a barren woman. You're abandoning your mother. Even the relatives couldn't stomach the harsh words anymore. I could hear people telling her to calm down. Michael's body tensed, but he didn't open the door. Instead, he pulled a suitcase from the closet. Let's just pack the essentials. We'll come back for the rest later, he said. I stared at his back. The man I had loved for 5 years, 2 years, dating, 3 years, married. I had seen him affectionate, exhausted, overjoyed, but never this resolute. Mike, I called out softly. He looked over. Thank you, I said, but I don't want you to destroy your relationship with your family because of me. We can still try to talk to them. Talk. Michael smiled bitterly. Haven't we talked enough over the last 3 years? Every time she made you cry, I talked to her. To my face, she'd nod and agree. Behind my back, she made it worse for you. Claire, some people don't understand compromise. They don't know what boundaries are. He walked over and held my shoulders. This isn't your fault. I was too soft. I always wanted to keep the peace. I thought with time, she'd accept you. I was wrong. I finally understand now some people will never change unless you give them a hard, absolute limit. A knock came at the door. It was Raymond. Mike, open up. Let's talk this out. We're family. Don't make a scene. Michael took a deep breath and opened the door. Raymond stood there, and behind him was my pale mother-in-law and a very flustered Cindy. Mom just got carried away by her emotions. She said some harsh things, Raymond said gently. Look, Cindy already apologized to her. Right, Cindy. Cindy gave a reluctant nod. Claire, I'm sorry. Mom just has a temper. Don't take it to heart. Dorothy looked away, acting as if she had done absolutely nothing wrong. Michael looked at them and let out a cold, joyless laugh. Raymond, if it was Cindy who got slapped tonight, what would you do? If she was humiliated in front of the whole family and told she was worthless, would you also say Mom is just getting old and you shouldn't take it to heart? The living room went dead silent. I wouldn't do that, Michael continued, because I know that when you truly love someone, you don't let them be abused like that. That slap wasn't an accident. It was the climax of 3 years of neglect and bullying. He scanned the faces of the relatives. All of you are my witnesses. Starting today, Claire and I are living separately. Since Mom thinks my sister-in-law is so perfect, she can go live with them. I will send a monthly check for her living expenses. But that is it. Michael, how dare you? Dorothy screamed, lunging forward, but Raymond held her back. Mom, hasn't there been enough drama? Raymond rarely raised his voice at his mother. Michael ignored them, turned around, and kept packing. I just stood there, observing these people feeling the absolute bitterness of it all. For 3 years, I had tried to accommodate every single one of them, and my reward was public humiliation. And now, the moment I stopped being a doormat, the world suddenly shifted. Claire, get your things ready, Michael said softly. We're leaving in an hour. I nodded and walked into the walk-in closet. Dorothy's crying gradually faded into whispers and the comforting murmurs of the relatives. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but I could guess. Half an hour later, we had 2 suitcases packed. Michael ordered an Uber, grabbed my hand, and we walked out of the room. The relatives hadn't left the living room. Seeing us, they all went quiet. Dorothy sat on the sofa sobbing. Cindy was pretending to comfort her but kept shooting us nervous glances. "We're leaving," Michael said calmly. "I'll leave the keys on the counter." Dorothy suddenly stood up. "If you walk out now, don't you ever come back." Michael paused, not turning around. "Mom, a home isn't just walls. A home is where there is love and respect. When you learn to respect my wife, I'll bring her back to visit you." With that, he pulled me along and we walked out of the house where I had swallowed my pride for 3 years. We didn't look back. When the elevator doors finally closed, I leaned against Michael's chest and sobbed. Not out of resentment, but out of pure relief. "Where are we going?" I asked through my tears. "We're going home." Michael kissed my forehead. "To a home that's just for the two of us." The Uber sped through the city's downtown streets. The neon lights from the high-rises filtered through the windows, casting shadows on Michael's face. "Does it still hurt?" he asked again, gently touching my cheek. I shook my head, more worried about him. "You just fought with your entire family. Are you going to be okay? And your job at the firm?" "I'll handle the job." He squeezed my hand tight. "Claire, do you know, for 3 years, every time I saw your forced smile, every time I heard Mom humiliate you, I felt like the most useless man alive. That slap hit your face, but it felt like it hit mine too." I leaned on his shoulder, my eyes tearing up again. "I just didn't want to make things hard for you. We're a team. We are one. If it's hard for you, it's hard for me." He sighed heavily. "I used to think time would fix everything, that Mom would slowly accept you. But I realize now that some things never change. Not unless you draw a hard line in the sand." The car pulled up to a sleek, high-rise condo building. It was right in the center of the city, a completely different world from the old sprawling suburbs where the Davis family lived. I was a bit surprised. "It's the condo I bought last year as an investment," Michael said as he unloaded the suitcases. "I was going to flip it once the market went up. Looks like we need it now." The apartment was a modest 2-bedroom styled with modern minimalism. It was fully furnished, but lacked the warmth of a real home. It felt a bit cold. "Tomorrow we'll go shopping and make it comfortable," Michael said, turning on the lights, filling the room with a warm yellow glow. I walked over to the floor-to-ceiling windows and looked down at the busy streets. A sudden sense of surrealness washed over me. Just 3 hours ago, I was suffocating in that house, enduring abuse. Now I was here. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. Mom flashed on the screen. Michael glanced at it and simply declined the call. "I'm changing my number tomorrow. I'll only give it to the people who actually need it," he said. "Claire, you should think about doing the same. Maybe you need to ditch your old number for a while." "Is that really necessary?" I worried. "If we don't cut the cord, they won't leave us alone." Michael smiled bitterly. "I know my mother. She will use every manipulation tactic in the book to drag us back. Especially me. We need time to find some peace and figure out how we're going to live." I nodded and powered off my phone entirely. It was late. We squeezed into the single bed in the guest room, but neither of us could sleep. "Mike, there's something I haven't told you," I whispered into the darkness. "What is it?" "Last week, I went to the doctor. I bit my lip," the doctor said. "I have some issues with my fallopian tubes. My chances of getting pregnant naturally are very low, though there's still a chance. I was planning to start treatments before telling you." Michael turned to me in the dark. "So that's what Mom meant about the barren hen." I nodded, silent tears streaming down my cheeks. "You idiot," he pulled me into a fierce hug. "Kids are a blessing. If we have them, great. If we don't, that's fine too. I love times you, not your ability to have kids. Besides, medicine is advanced nowadays. If we really want a child, we can try IVF or we can adopt. The only thing that matters is that I'm with you. What my mother thinks is completely irrelevant." His voice was steady and resolute. "What matters is what I think and what you think, Claire. From now on, we live for ourselves, not for anyone else's expectations." That night, I cried into his chest until I fell asleep, letting out 3 years of repressed pain and resentment. The next morning, sunlight pierced through the blinds. I woke up to find Michael already bustling around the kitchen. "We only have eggs and a couple of bagels in the fridge. This is breakfast for now, then we'll hit the grocery store." He was wearing an apron and looked ridiculous, but it warmed my heart. This was the first morning in 3 years that I hadn't woken up to my mother-in-law's hypercritical nagging or my sister-in-law's bragging. Instead, I woke up to the smell of frying eggs in the back of the man I loved. "Is there still a mark on my face?" I pointed to my cheek. Michael inspected it closely. "Still a bit red, but hardly noticeable. We'll swing by the pharmacy later for some ointment." As we were talking, the doorbell rang. We looked at each other. Who could be visiting this early? Michael checked the peephole and frowned. It's my brother. My stomach tied in knots. Raymond. Outwardly polite, but truthfully the most calculating of them all. Are you going to open it? I asked. Michael thought for a second, then nodded. We have to face him eventually. Let's see what he has to say. He opened the door. Raymond stood there holding a bakery bag, sporting a wide diplomatic smile. Mike, Claire, how are you guys settling in? He walked in as if nothing had happened and set the bag on the counter. Mom sent these. She woke up early to go to that bakery to get your favorite cinnamon rolls. I stared at the pastries and offered a cold smile. The classic carrot and stick routine. Typical Dorothy. Raymond, if you have something to say, get straight to it. Michael didn't touch the food. If you came here to convince us to go back, you can leave right now. Raymond's smile vanished. He took a deep breath. Mike. Don't be like this. Mom is getting older. She has a bad temper, but she's still our mother. Can't we just give her a little grace? Did Mom ever give Claire any grace? Michael countered. 3 years, Ray. You saw it all. You saw how she treated her. That slap last night was in front of the entire family. If it had been Cindy who got slapped, would you be telling her to show a little grace? Raymond was speechless. I know exactly what you're thinking, man. Michael pressed on. You're terrified Mom is actually going to move into your house. You're scared Cindy is going to complain and make your life a living hell. Raymond's face dropped. Don't worry. I'll send my half of her living expenses every month. If she gets sick, I'll cover my share. But since she thinks your wife is the second coming, let her live with you guys. She'll be thrilled to be near her grandson. Mike, what are you saying? Raymond rubbed the back of his neck, looking flustered. Cindy works full-time and the kid is a handful. Mom would be miserable. Not my problem, Michael stated flatly. Mom has options. She can live alone in the family home and I'll hire a home health aide. Or she can live with you. But she is never living with us again. That is my final word. Raymond opened his mouth but then turned to me. Claire, talk some sense into him. We're family. Why cause all this drama? Mom said if you come back and apologize, she'll forget the whole thing. Apologize. I almost laughed. What exactly am I apologizing for? Raymond looked shocked. He probably hadn't expected the usually submissive Claire to suddenly have a backbone. Raymond, I was the one who was assaulted. I was the one humiliated. For 3 years, I worked like a dog in that house. And what did I get? A public slapping and being called a barren hen. I stood up and looked him dead in the eye. I will not apologize because I did nothing wrong. If anyone needs to apologize, it's Mom. Claire, what happened to you? Raymond looked bewildered. You've changed. I changed because I realized that being a doormat doesn't earn you respect. I finished his sentence for him. Mike chose me, and I'm not going to leave him to face this alone. Michael walked over, took my hand, and looked at his brother. Ray, we've said our piece. Tell Mom she can apologize and learn to respect Claire, or we live separate lives. There is no third option. Raymond looked at us, then at the untouched cinnamon rolls. He sighed heavily, stood up, and walked to the door. Before leaving, he looked back. Mike, you know Mom. She will never apologize. Is this how you want to leave it as enemies? Then we'll be enemies, Michael replied calmly. Better that than letting my wife be a punching bag. When the door clicked shut, my knees went weak. I almost collapsed, but Michael caught me. Are you okay? Maybe I was too blunt. Did I say too much? For 3 years, I hadn't raised my voice at his family once. Those words felt like they came from a stranger. No, you did exactly the right thing. Michael looked at me with deep admiration. Claire, remember this, from now on, you never have to make yourself small for anyone. Not even for my family. Not for my mother. That day, we both changed our phone numbers, went grocery shopping, and made the apartment feel like a home. Michael even bought a bouquet of sunflowers and put them in a vase. Sunflowers always face the light, he said. We should too. That evening, we sat on our new sofa. Michael opened a laptop he hadn't used for a while. There's something else I haven't told you. He hesitated slightly. Actually, since last year, I've been building a startup with some college buddies. I wanted to wait until it was stable before telling you. A startup I sat up straight. But you have a great position at the family firm. It only looks great from the outside. Michael smiled bitterly. It's a family business. You know Raymond is the eldest. He's going to inherit the reins. No matter how hard I work, I'll always just be an overpaid employee. Plus, Mom and Cindy always act like I only have my job because of nepotism. But it's the exact opposite. He paused. Claire, if I told you I wanted to resign and focus on the tech startup full-time, would you support me? I looked into his eyes. There was hesitation, hope, but mostly determination. Yes, absolutely. I answered without a second thought. Whatever you decide, I've got your back. Michael breathed a sigh of relief and pulled me in. Thank you. We've been building this smart home project for over a year. We just secured our first round of seed funding. I was just debating when to hand in my resignation. Looks like now is the perfect time. What about our finances? I have savings. Plus, this condo is fully paid off. If push comes to shove, we can take out a line of credit, Michael said. But most importantly, Claire, I want to prove to everyone that even without the Davis family name, I can give you a great life. I felt a massive weight lift, though a bit of worry lingered. But startups are risky. Worst case scenario, I'll just get a corporate job somewhere else, Michael said calmly. But I believe in our product and our team. Are you ready for this ride with me? I'm ready. I leaned on his shoulder. But before that, I want to do something too. When I'm getting a job, I declared. I can't rely on you for everything. Besides, I touched my cheek. I want to prove to myself that Claire Miller isn't just a decorative vase. Michael looked at me, a spark of pride in his eyes. My wife really is built differently. That slap woke me up. I smiled wryly. It woke me up from 3 years of endurance and self-deception. Outside the city, lights began to blink on. Our small temporary nest was slowly filling with warmth. Even with our phones off, I knew the storm was just beginning at the Davis estate. My mother-in-law wouldn't give up easily, and my sister-in-law wouldn't miss a chance to watch the circus burn. Monday morning, I was brewing coffee in the kitchen. Sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting stripes across the quartz countertop. The apartment was small, but it smelled like freedom. No more waking up at dawn to cook breakfast for the entire extended family. No more listening to my mother-in-law complain that the eggs were too runny. No more watching my sister-in-law gloat about her kids' milestones. Claire, I'm heading to the office to hand in my resignation. Michael emerged from the bedroom, dressed in a sharp suit, looking energized. I've got a meeting with the team this afternoon. Will you be okay here by yourself? Don't worry about me. I handed him a mug of coffee. I'm going to start sending out resumes today. Michael nodded, though a hint of worry crossed his face. You don't have to rush. We have savings. I times want times to work, I interrupted. Not just for the money, but to find myself again. 3 years ago, in my quest to be the perfect daughter-in-law, I had abandoned my career as an interior designer. Dorothy had told me, the women in the Davis family don't need to work. So I quit to support my husband and prepare for kids that never came. Now looking back, I realized how incredibly foolish I had been. After Michael left, I dusted off my old laptop and logged onto LinkedIn. My resume needed a massive overhaul. A 3-year employment gap is a glaring red flag. Just as I was wondering how to spin it, my new phone buzzed. Only a few people had the number. It was Karen Jenkins, my best friend from college. Claire, you finally picked up. Karen's voice was a mix of panic and rage. I heard everything. That old witch slapped you in front of everyone. And Michael finally grew a pair. Where are you guys? Are you safe? I felt a rush of warmth. We're at Mike's downtown condo. We're fine. How did you find out? How is your family drama all over the city? Karen scoffed. That snake, Cindy posted a bunch of passive-aggressive quotes on Facebook. Stuff about how some daughters-in-law don't respect their elders and need to be taught a lesson, complete with a selfie of her hugging your monster-in-law. I knew immediately something went down. I called your old number, no answer. I had to track down Mike's coworkers to get your new digits. My stomach dropped. Cindy. Of course she wouldn't miss the chance to drag my name through the mud. Karen, I'm okay. Does your face hurt? Do you want me to drive over there and slap that old bat myself? Karen was always a fighter in college. She was my fiercest protector. I couldn't help but laugh. No need, but I do need your help. I'm looking for a job, but that 3-year gap on my resume. I'm worried. Could you put in a good word for me, or are there any openings at your firm? Karen was an art director at a top-tier design firm in the city. When I resigned 3 years ago, she called me a love-struck idiot and told me I'd regret it. Are you kidding? I am thrilled, Karen's voice lit up. We are desperately looking for a senior designer right now. Come in. I'll recommend you. As for the gap, whatever. Just say you were managing a family estate. You practically were. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but an idea formed. After hanging up, I tweaked the employment gap section of my resume. I wrote time sabbatical for family reasons to manage a family estate and provide care for an elderly dependent. It wasn't a lie. For 3 years, I had basically been the estate manager for the Davis family. They just hadn't paid me. After firing off my resume, I started cleaning. The apartment was already spotless, but I needed to burn nervous energy. As I was mopping the floor, the doorbell rang again. Through the peephole, I saw Dorothy. She was alone holding a Tupperware container. She looked exhausted with dark circles under her eyes. My heart spiked. For 3 years, I had been conditioned to fear and appease her. That deep-seated anxiety wasn't going to vanish overnight. I took a deep breath, unlocked the door, but kept the chain engaged. "Good morning, Mom," I said calmly. Dorothy clearly hadn't expected this level of icy composure. She faltered for a second, then forced a painfully stiff smile. "Claire, I just came to check on you. I made my famous chicken casserole. It's your favorite. My favorite." I smirked internally. In 3 years, she hadn't bothered to learn a single thing about me. Chicken casserole was Cindy's favorite. Thank you. But we already ate. I didn't reach for the container. "Mike is at work. Did you need something?" Dorothy's fake smile vanished. "I made a mistake. I was wrong the other night. I shouldn't have raised my hand at you. But we're family. Why are we making such a mess of things? Come home. I promise I'll be better to you. I promise." I couldn't count how many times I had heard that over the last 3 years. "Mom, Mike made things very clear the other night," I said, keeping my tone dead flat. Zero emotion. "If you are truly sorry, you should tell him that directly. As for moving back, that's not in our plans." Dorothy's face twisted. Her voice began to shake. "Claire, do you have no heart? I am an old woman and you want to tear me away from my son. You're a woman too. You'll be a mother-in-law someday. Can't you understand times?" The emotional blackmail. It disgusted me. Mom understanding goes both ways. I looked her straight in the eye. "For 3 years, I understood your loneliness after your husband passed. I understood your expectations for a traditional daughter-in-law. I understood all your whims, your insults, your demands. But did you ever try to understand me? Even once. Did you ever consider how hard it was for an outsider to integrate into the Davis family?" Dorothy had no answer. "That slap killed whatever respect I had left for you," I continued. "Please leave, Mom. If you want to repair the relationship, start by learning how to respect me. But I won't force it, because some people simply never learn." With that, I moved to shut the door. "Wait." Dorothy shoved her hand into the gap. "Claire, I am begging you. Mike listens to you. Convince him to come home. I can't lose my son." Tears poured down her face. It looked incredibly genuine. The old me might have caved. But now I just shook my head. Mike is a grown man. He has his own mind and makes his own decisions. I respect his choices, and I suggest you do the same. I unlatched the chain, opened the door fully, and made a sweeping gesture toward the hallway. "Please leave, Mom, and take the casserole to Cindy. It's her favorite right." Dorothy's face went chalk white. She clearly hadn't expected me to call out her blatant hypocrisy. She snatched the Tupperware back and practically fled down the hall. When the door closed, I leaned against it, my heart hammering against my ribs. Saying those words had consumed almost every ounce of courage I possessed. My phone vibrated. A text from Karen: "Times I sent your resume to HR. Interview tomorrow at 10 a.m. You knock this out of the park and the job is yours." "Good luck, Times," I replied with a hugging emoji, then texted Michael: "Times, your mom came by." I sent her packing. A few seconds later, his reply popped up. "Times. Good job. Tonight I'm cooking dinner." Staring at that message, I felt it in my bones. My new life had officially begun. That afternoon, I received interview invites from 2 other companies, besides Karen's firm. A smaller, high-potential boutique studio had reached out. I opened my closet and started pulling out clothes. Most of my professional wardrobe from 3 years ago felt a bit dated, but classic pieces never really go out of style. I chose a crisp white silk blouse and wide-leg black trousers. Sleek, professional, modern. Standing in front of the mirror, I stared at my reflection. 3 years of being a domestic servant had softened my edges and dimmed my fire. But now, after setting my boundaries, the confident, radiant Claire Miller from college was beginning to resurface. My phone rang again, an unknown number this time. I hesitated but answered. "Hello, Claire, it's Aunt Lucille." It was Dorothy's older sister. "I heard you and Mike moved out. What on earth happened, Times?" Here comes the Davis family negotiation squad. "Aunt Lucille, we just decided it was best to get our own place to let things cool down." I tried to remain polite. "Oh, nonsense. We're family. What is there to cool down about?" Lucille's voice oozed with unsolicited wisdom. "Claire, don't take this the wrong way, but your mother-in-law is from an older generation. She has a temper, but she's the elder. Is it really so hard to just swallow your pride? Look at Cindy. She's smart about these things." "Aunt Lucille," I cut her off. "If you called to lecture me, I'm sorry, but I'm very busy." "Well, Aren't you a disrespectful little thing? Lucille bristled. I'm telling you this for your own good. What do you think you'll gain from this scandal? Mike is protecting you right now, sure, but men get tired. The novelty of defending you will wear off, and he'll remember that she is his mother. What happens to you then? You'll be left out in the cold. That is my problem to deal with Aunt Lucille. Don't worry about me, I said, my voice dropping to sub-zero. If you don't have anything else to say, I'm hanging up. Wait, Lucille said hurriedly. Listen to your auntie. Put your head down. Go apologize. Go home. Your mother-in-law said if you come back, she won't lay a hand on you again. She's made a lot of promises she hasn't kept, I said calmly. I have things to do. Goodbye. I hung up and blocked the number. It didn't stop there. Over the next hour, a barrage of calls came in from various aunts and uncles. They all repeated the same script I needed to be reasonable. Think of the family, respect my elders. I responded to all of them with polite, unwavering firmness. By the end of the day, I was amazed by my own stoicism. It turns out when you stop caring about what other people think, you become incredibly free. That night, Michael came home carrying grocery bags. I heard you took down an entire army today, he smiled, setting the bags on the counter and pulling me into a hug. How did you know? Raymond called. Said you shut down Aunt Lucille and Uncle Peter so hard they couldn't even speak. And Mom is supposedly breaking dishes at the house in a rage. Michael's voice was filled with pride. Good job. I just said what needed to be said. I helped him unpack the groceries. Did they accept your resignation? They did. By next month, I'm officially out. Michael tied on his apron. But I have great news. Our project secured a second round of funding. Way bigger than we projected. That's amazing. I was genuinely thrilled for him. Over dinner, we mapped out our future. The smart home startup had massive potential. My interview prep was going great. We felt like a normal, ambitious couple planning our lives. Claire Michael looked at me seriously after dinner. There's something we need to consider. Once the company stabilizes, we might need to relocate to a bigger tech hub. Austin or maybe Seattle. There's vastly more opportunity there. Would you be open to that? I paused, then nodded. I'll go anywhere, as long as I'm with you. Michael squeezed my hand. I know it won't be easy to leave the city you grew up in, but here my family's shadow is always going to be looming over us. A change of scenery. A fresh start. It might be exactly what we need. I thought about it. Seattle sounds great. Karen has connections there and the design scene is booming. Whatever you want. Michael smiled. It was the first genuinely relaxed smile I had seen on him in 3 years. Late that night, I couldn't sleep. I stepped out onto the balcony and looked at the city skyline. 3 years of marriage. I thought I was building a family, but I was just playing a role. What my mother-in-law wanted wasn't a daughter-in-law. She wanted an obedient, unpaid servant. What my sister-in-law wanted was a prop to make herself look superior. And I, in my desperation to please everyone, had completely lost myself. That slap woke me up. My phone lit up. A text from Cindy from a new number, Claire. Mom came home today and cried for hours. She said she apologized to you and you rejected her. We're family. Why do you have to be so cruel? Can't you be the bigger person times? I stared at the text and laughed out loud. I typed back times, Cindy, since you are so full of grace and mercy, you go right ahead and show her the respect she deserves. It's your turn to be the perfect daughter-in-law. I hit send, then blocked the number. The cool night breeze felt amazing. Tomorrow I had an interview. I was going to be Claire Miller, interior designer, once again. The next morning, I stood in front of the mirror. My makeup was flawless, my white silk blouse perfectly pressed, my wide-leg pants tailored, a chic, business-like silhouette I hadn't worn in 3 years. My hair was pulled back into a sleek, low bun. Look at my gorgeous wife. You're going to blow them away. Michael wrapped his arms around me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. Stop it. You're going to mess up my hair, I laughed. Good luck to you, too. First official day at the startup. It's a big deal. He kissed my cheek. Tonight we celebrate, regardless of the outcome. At 9:30 a.m., I stood in front of the sleek glass high-rise where Karen worked. Walking into the bustling lobby, the familiar, long-forgotten hum of corporate energy washed over me. Karen practically sprinted out of the elevator in a sharp blazer. Come on, I'll walk you up. Isn't that against the rules? I hesitated. What rules? I'm the art director. I have the final say anyway, Karen whispered, looping her arm through mine. But you still have to go through the gauntlet. 3 interviewers, me, the HR director, Vera, and the marketing manager. Just be yourself. I've seen your freelance portfolio. Your work is stellar. As the elevator shot upward, Karen gave me the rundown. Vera is strict. She loves trick questions. The marketing guy only cares about ROI. So emphasize the commercial viability of your designs. And me. Well, I'm just there for moral support. Karen, thank you. Seriously, don't thank me. In college, if you hadn't carried me through our senior thesis, I would have dropped out, she winked. Besides, I actually need a brilliant designer. You didn't just sit on the couch for 3 years. I saw those stunning online projects you posted on your private Instagram. I nodded. Even after resigning, I hadn't abandoned my craft. I took remote freelance gigs and learned new CAD software. The Davis family didn't know about any of this. They thought I just sat around dusting furniture all day. The interview took place in a sunlit, glass-walled conference room. Karen sat at the long table next to a severe-looking woman in her 50s, Vera and a smiling man in his 40s, the marketing manager. Miss Miller, have a seat. Vera adjusted her glasses, staring at my resume. I see a 3-year employment gap here. Can you explain that? Here we go. I took a deep breath and delivered the line I had practiced. For the past 3 years, I took a sabbatical for family reasons, to manage a large family estate and provide care. However, I never stopped developing my professional skills. I mastered SketchUp and Rhino on my own time and completed over a dozen private interior design projects. Here is my digital portfolio. I handed them an iPad loaded with my curated work, a modular nursery for a friend, a modern loft renovation for an online client, and even the architectural redesign of the Davis family estate, a proposal my mother-in-law had tossed in the trash without looking at. The marketing manager scrolled through the iPad, nodding approvingly. The loft design is fascinating. Incredible spatial optimization. What was your approach regarding commercial value here? I believe great design must marry aesthetics with absolute utility, I answered smoothly. For instance, in the nursery project, I utilized modular adjustable fixtures that grow with the child. That specific scalable design model is currently highly demanded by millennial demographics, maximizing long-term ROI for developers. The interview flowed beautifully for 40 minutes. Vera threw stress test questions at me, but I handled them effortlessly. The confidence that had been battered out of me over 3 years was roaring back. Finally, Vera closed my file. Miss Miller, your technical skills are top tier, but a 3-year gap is a concern. If we bring you on board, how can you guarantee you will adapt quickly to a high-pressure, fast-paced corporate environment? Vera, managing a complex family dynamic is its own kind of high-pressure environment, I smiled. Warmly. It requires constant multitasking, crisis management, budget allocation, and severe emotional regulation. I am confident those soft skills translate perfectly to this office. Furthermore, because I have been out of the traditional workforce for 3 years, I am hungrier and more appreciative of this opportunity than anyone else you will interview today. Under the table, Karen flashed me a discreet thumbs up. The interview wrapped, and Vera told me to expect a call. Karen walked me down to the lobby. Just as we stepped out of the elevator, Karen's phone buzzed. Karen's face dropped. Are you serious? Okay. I'm on it. She hung up and looked at me, her expression grim. Claire, we have a massive problem. What happened? Your mother-in-law and her favorite little sidekick are currently up in the HR department, Karen said, her voice tight. They somehow found out you were interviewing here. They barged in and demanded to speak to Vera, claiming you have inappropriate conduct, lack respect for authority, and are mentally unstable, making you unfit to work here. My blood boiled. A hot, blinding rage shot up my neck. They actually had the audacity to follow me here. Vera put them in a guest conference room to avoid a scene in the bullpen. But Claire, this is going to torpedo your chances. Karen grabbed my arm. Let's go see what these two psychopaths want. As we rode the elevator back up, I watched the floor numbers tick higher. My mother-in-law hadn't listened to a word I said. Instead, she decided to destroy my career, to force me back into a corner where I had no choice but to beg for her mercy. Karen, let me handle this, I said. My voice was so cold I barely recognized it. Are you sure I've got this? I looked at my reflection in the elevator doors. My eyes were like steel. There was a debt to be paid. In the guest conference room, Dorothy and Cindy were sitting on a leather sofa. Dorothy's eyes were red and puffy, playing the victim. Cindy was patting her back in faux sympathy. Vera stood by the window, looking incredibly displeased. When we walked in, Vera frowned. Karen, what is going on here? Why is a domestic dispute bleeding into our corporate office? Vera, I am deeply sorry for the disruption. I stepped forward, cutting Karen off. These women are indeed my in-laws. However, I had no prior knowledge of their visit, and this has absolutely nothing to do with my professional interview. Dorothy dramatically stood up. I am begging you. Just come home. Why do you have to drag our family drama out into the public for everyone to laugh at? You are the one making it public, Mom, I replied, ice in my veins. I was conducting an official corporate interview, and you marched into a prospective employer's office to slander my character. Is this what you call protecting the family? Cindy jumped in immediately. Claire, this is for your own good. You haven't worked in 3 years. The stress will break you. It's better if you just stay home. Mom said she won't even hit you again, Cindy. I snapped my gaze to her. Yesterday. You came to my apartment with a casserole, telling me Mom was deeply regretful and begging me to come back. Today, you escort her here to sabotage my career. Which version of you is the liar? Or are you two just playing good cop, bad cop? Busted. Cindy's face drained of color. Vera was watching us with calculating eyes. Vera, again, I apologize for wasting your time. I gave her a slight respectful nod. My personal life has zero bearing on my professional capabilities. But if this spectacle causes you to doubt my integrity, I am more than willing to submit to any background check or probationary period you deem necessary. Vera, don't listen to her, Dorothy shrieked. She's just bitter because she's barren. She can't have kids, so she takes it out on me and tears our family apart. What kind of respectable company hires a toxic woman like that? The conference room went dead silent. Barren. The word felt like a physical knife twisting in my gut. Karen stepped forward, ready to tear Dorothy apart, but I put a hand out to stop her. And then I laughed. Mom, do you genuinely believe a woman's entire worth is determined by her ability to act as an incubator? I laughed so hard my chest ached. So, because Cindy gave birth to a boy, she is inherently superior to a barren hen like me, I hit the exact nerve. Dorothy's obsession with the male heir was legendary. Vera, everyone I turned to address the room, noting that a few employees had conveniently gathered near the glass door to eavesdrop. Since we are airing everything out, I will be completely transparent. 3 years ago, I married into this family and sacrificed my career to manage their estate. I took care of my mother-in-law faithfully, but because of medical fertility issues, I was subjected to daily emotional abuse. I took a step closer to Dorothy. Last Sunday at a family dinner, my mother-in-law slapped me across the face in front of 20 relatives, explicitly stating I was inferior to her other daughter-in-law. My husband refused to tolerate it, and we moved out immediately. I came here today to interview to restart my life and to secure my independence. And my abusers followed me here to destroy that opportunity, to starve me out so I'd be forced to return to my cage. I paused, letting the silence hang heavy. That is the absolute truth. If this company believes that a woman fighting to escape domestic abuse, I emphasize the word times, abuse times, and fighting to rebuild an independent life constitutes inappropriate conduct, then I have nothing left to say. The silence in the room was absolute. Vera's expression shifted from annoyance to realization, and finally, to deep respect. She was a powerhouse executive who had fought her way to the top of a male-dominated industry. She knew exactly what patriarchal pressure looked like. Miss Miller Vera spoke smoothly. As long as an employee's personal life does not impede their deliverables, this company does not care. However, the theatrics taking place in my office today are a severe disruption. I understand completely, I nodded. I will withdraw my application. I apologize again for the inconvenience. No, Vera said sharply. An interview is an interview. A circus is a circus. We have evaluated your professional portfolio, and we now understand the external pressures you are facing. This firm hires based on talent and resilience, not the malicious gossip of estranged relatives. She turned a glacial glare onto Dorothy and Cindy. Ladies, this is a place of business, not a reality television set. I am asking you to leave my premises immediately, or I will have security escort you out. Dorothy was stunned. Her usual tactics of screaming and crying didn't work in a corporate boardroom. Vera, please. You have to listen to me. Security Vera pressed a button on the conference phone. Within seconds, 2 burly security guards appeared and firmly escorted a sputtering Dorothy and a deeply humiliated Cindy out of the building. In the conference room, it was just Karen, Vera, and me. Are you all right, Claire? Vera's tone softened considerably. I'm okay. Thank you so much, Vera. I stood tall. And regarding today's incident, I truly am sorry. Forget it. Vera waved her hand dismissively. It's hard enough being a woman in corporate America. It's even harder trying to balance career and family expectations. The fact that you broke out of a toxic environment like that takes guts. Vera offered a rare, genuine smile. Karen was right. You are a remarkably promising designer. And as for that 3-year gap, if you can manage a family dynamic that hostile with the grace you just showed, I have zero doubts about your crisis management skills. Be here tomorrow at 9 a.m. to fill out your onboarding paperwork. I froze. You mean you're hired? Thank you, Vera. I bowed my head slightly. From the bottom of my heart. When Vera left, Karen threw her arms around me. You absolute badass. I knew you had it in you. I leaned into her shoulder, my adrenaline crashing. My body was shaking slightly, not from fear, but from the overwhelming relief of victory. But your mother-in-law, Karen said worriedly, she's not going to just let this go. I know. I wiped a stray tear from my cheek. But I won today's battle. And right now, that's enough. Riding the elevator down, I texted Michael times I got the job. Mom and Cindy showed up to sabotage it, but security threw them out. I'll tell you everything tonight. Minutes later, Michael called. Are you okay? His voice was tight with panic. I'm fine. And I won. I stood on the sidewalk outside the building, bathing in the sunlight. Mike, I realized something today. What? When you finally stand up for yourself, the universe gets out of your way. I laughed. What's for dinner? I'm buying. We are celebrating my return to the real world. Hanging up, I looked at the bustling city traffic and took a deep breath. The air smelled like freedom. Dorothy wouldn't stop. I knew that. But I wasn't afraid anymore. On my first day at work, Karen personally walked me over to the design department. Everyone, this is Claire Miller. Our new senior designer, she announced. She has extensive experience in high-end residential interiors. Make her feel welcome. My new colleagues clapped politely. I could see curiosity burning in their eyes. The drama from yesterday had undoubtedly filtered through the office grapevine. My desk was by a massive window with a killer view of the skyline. There was a small potted succulent on it, a gift from Karen. Welcome back to the grind, she tapped my shoulder. Your first assignment is a community center renovation downtown. The budget is tight, but it's a highly visible project for the city. Here's the brief. I need initial sketches by Friday. I flipped through the dossier. My eyes lit up. This was my element. If 3 years as a housewife had taught me anything, it was how to maximize utility and stretch a shoestring budget without sacrificing aesthetics. I dove straight into the work. Around lunchtime, my phone buzzed. Michael Times. How's day one? Surviving and thriving Times, I texted back. The team is great. Just missing my husband, he replied with a sad face emoji. I smiled and put the phone down, heading toward the break room. As I stood up, I noticed a young junior designer a few desks away glancing at me. When we made eye contact, she quickly looked down, blushing. That was Leah, a recent grad. Brilliant but painfully shy. Karen popped out of nowhere. Come on, let's grab lunch. I'll introduce you to the core squad. In the break room, Karen sat me at a table with 3 other women. Claire, this is Marina from marketing, Sarah from accounting, and Olga from admin. We heard about the boardroom smackdown yesterday. Marina, a sharp woman in her 40s, smirked over her salad. Escorting that nightmare mother-in-law out with security iconic. Exactly how it should be handled. Honestly, you should have filed a police report. Sarah chimed in. Slapping you in public is straight-up assault. Olga. The calmest of the group sipped her tea. Claire, I've seen women like your mother-in-law. They aren't just mean, they're delusional. They think they can control their daughters-in-law through guilt and financial leverage. Watch your back. She's not done. I nodded. I know, but I'm not scared of her anymore. Damn right. Marina pointed a fork at me. A woman needs her own money and her own career. It's your armor. If she tries to ruin your life again, you just tell her to go to hell. We all laughed, and the heavy tension in my chest evaporated. After lunch, I hyper-focused on the community center. It was located in an old abandoned manufacturing warehouse. Massive square footage, but an atrocious layout. I sketched a few concepts, but something was missing. I was hitting a creative wall. Leah timidly walked up behind my chair. Excuse me. Yes, Leah, what's up? I saw your sketches, she said nervously. In these old industrial buildings, the best features are usually the exposed steel I-beams and the original skylights. Maybe we shouldn't try to cover them up with drop ceilings. Maybe we highlight them, go full industrial chic to preserve the historical integrity. My eyes widened. Keep going. Well, the center is for seniors and kids. Industrial can feel too cold, right? But we can warm it up with color psychology and soft textiles. Leah grew more confident as she spoke. For example, paint the steel beams a vibrant mustard yellow and install a massive living green wall directly under the skylights. It merges industrial architecture with organic warmth. That is brilliant. I immediately started altering the CAD file. Leah, your instincts are spot on. The young girl beamed. You really think so? Thank you, Claire. By 5:30 p.m., the initial wireframes were 70% done. I was packing up my bag when my phone rang. Unknown number, but local area code. I hesitated, then answered, assuming it might be a contractor. "Hello, Claire. It's Uncle Peter." It was Dorothy's younger brother. His voice carried that familiar, arrogant tone. "Congratulations on the new job." "Thank you, Uncle Peter. Can I help you with something?" "Well," he coughed awkwardly. "Your mother-in-law got sick. She says you've been tormenting her." "We're family." "Why are you acting like this? Just go visit her, apologize, and let's put this behind us. Here we go again." I walked toward the elevator. First of all, Uncle Peter. I didn't torment her. She showed up to my corporate office, threw a tantrum, and was escorted out by security. Second, I did absolutely nothing wrong, so I will not be apologizing. Third, if she's sick, she needs a doctor, not an apology from me. "Listen here, you disrespectful little brat. Is that how you talk to an elder?" Uncle Peter exploded. "Your mother-in-law is an old woman. Have you no pity? Besides, I hear you got a fancy new job. Cindy mentioned yesterday that your mother-in-law has been wanting one of those expensive massage chairs. Buy her one as a peace offering." I actually laughed out loud. "Ah, so that's what this is about." "Uncle Peter, I haven't even received my first paycheck yet," I said smoothly. "And when I do, I'll be paying my rent and my bills. If Mom wants a massage chair, tell her to ask her favorite daughter-in-law, or you, her loving brother, Claire Miller." "Don't you understand? Peter lost his temper entirely. The Davis family accepted you. You should consider yourself lucky, and now you're acting high and mighty, Uncle Peter." I stopped right outside the subway entrance. If the luck the Davis family bestowed upon me was a public slapping, nonstop verbal abuse, and an attempt to get me fired, you can keep your luck. I don't want it. I hung up and blocked the number. I had barely pocketed my phone when it rang again. Aunt Lucille. "Claire, why did you block your Uncle Peter?" she shrieked immediately. "He's your elder. He gave you some advice." "What is so wrong with that?" "Unblock him and apologize this instant." I took a deep breath, stepping away from the rush hour foot traffic. "Aunt Lucille, do you have anything else to say? If not, I'm commuting home." "Don't take that tone with me," Lucille yelled. "Let me tell you something, Claire. Don't think just because you got a job you can do whatever you want. You are nothing without the Davis name. Mike is just playing a game right now. The honeymoon phase of his rebellion will end and you'll be crying on the streets. Then we'll see who's laughing. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it," I replied coldly. "And Aunt Lucille, just a friendly warning. Spreading malicious rumors and defamatory statements is illegal. If you or anyone else continues to contact my employer or spread lies about my inappropriate conduct, I have every right to file a lawsuit for harassment and slander." "Are you threatening me?" Lucille's voice shook with rage. "No. I'm giving you a legal heads up. I saw my train approaching. I have to go. Goodbye." I hung up and blocked her number too. Stepping onto the subway car, I grabbed a handrail and felt a wave of sheer exhaustion wash over me. It wasn't physical, it was emotional. Defending myself against this relentless, toxic emotional blackmail was more draining than drafting 10 design projects. My phone vibrated again. I almost ignored it, thinking it was another Davis relative, but I checked the screen. "Michael. Hey, are you off work?" His voice was incredibly warm. "I'm on the subway." My eyes suddenly stung with unshed tears. "Mike, Uncle Peter and Aunt Lucille just called me." Dead silence on the other end. "What did they say?" I gave him the cliff notes, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm so sorry." Michael's voice dropped an octave. "They hurt you again." "They didn't hurt me," I sniffled. "It's just pathetic. They only have one playbook, I'm younger, so I have to submit. I have to endure. And if I'm in pain, they don't care." "I care," Michael said fiercely. "Claire, I have an idea." "What?" "This weekend, let's invite the entire family to a formal dinner," he said. "Not to apologize, to lay everything out on the table, to set absolute, non-negotiable boundaries, so they understand that from now on, we live our lives and they live theirs. Anyone who crosses the line deals with the consequences." My heart pounded. "Are you sure I'm positive?" Michael was resolute. "I am not letting them harass you anymore. One final confrontation, and we are done." "Okay." I gritted my teeth. "Let's do it." The next day during my lunch break, I got a text from Cindy asking to meet at a coffee shop near my office. Just the two of us. "No, Mom," she promised. I agreed. I needed to see what her angle was. Cindy was already there sipping a latte. "Claire, have a seat." She was shockingly polite. I sat down and cut to the chase. Why did you want to meet Cindy? Cindy stirred her coffee. Mom came home yesterday and cried all night. She said you wouldn't answer her calls. Claire, I know Mom crossed a line, but can't you just compromise a little? For my sake, for your sake, I smiled thinly. Cindy, yesterday at my office, when you told my prospective boss that I was mentally unstable and unfit to work, were you thinking about my sake? She froze. Mom told me to say that she deflected. And the passive-aggressive Facebook posts. Did Mom tell you to post those too? Cindy was speechless. Let's stop playing games, Cindy. I leaned forward. You asked me here because you are terrified. You know that if I completely sever ties with the family, Mom is going to move in with you and Raymond, and your easy, comfortable life is going to turn into a nightmare. Cindy looked away, her jaw clenching. Don't worry, I continued. Mom isn't going to move in with you. She loves that big family estate too much. But if she starts showing up at your door every day, demanding you wait on her hand and foot, that's a different story. Cindy went pale. What are you getting at? I'm saying our interests are aligned. I took a sip of my coffee. You keep her off my back and I won't push her onto yours. Mike and I will pay our share of her bills, but we are not living with her. If she wants to throw a tantrum, we both ignore her. Eventually she'll tire herself out. Cindy hadn't expected this strictly transactional approach. But Mom, what does Mom care about most? Her reputation and her male heir? I stared her down. If you bring your son over to see her often, she won't bother you. And as for me, I am going to make it painfully clear to her that Claire Miller is no longer her punching bag. Cindy stayed quiet for a long time before finally nodding. Okay, but the family dinner this weekend, I added. That is our boundary-setting ritual. If you're smart, Cindy, you'll figure out which side you need to be on. Walking out of the coffee shop, I felt a mix of emotions. I had brokered a temporary truce with Cindy, not because I forgave her, but because the enemy of my enemy is a useful asset. Back at the office, Leah ran up to me practically vibrating with excitement. Claire, the community center project was approved. Vera said our approach was a breath of fresh air. I grabbed the approval sheet. Written in Vera's sharp handwriting times, preserve the history, inject new life, exceptional work, proceed to rendering. Yes, I high-fived Leah. We're working late tonight. Let's get these 3D visualizations done. I'll order the pizza, Leah beamed. By the time we finished, it was 8:00 p.m. Walking out of the building, I saw Michael's car idling at the curb. You didn't have to wait for me. I could have taken an Uber, I said, sliding into the passenger seat. Not a chance. He leaned over and buckled my seatbelt. You are my most highly valued asset. Need to protect my investment. I laughed and leaned my head on his shoulder. As we drove through the neon-lit city, I closed my eyes. The weekend dinner felt like a final boss battle. But I wasn't afraid. I had my career, my talent, and a husband who truly loved me. Saturday evening, I stood in front of the bedroom mirror. I wore a tailored black cocktail dress, understated elegant, but armored with a strictly business vibe. Pearl earrings, hair pulled up. Nervous, Michael wrapped his arms around my waist. He was wearing a sharp charcoal suit. A little, I admitted. But mostly, I'm just ready to get this over with. Me too, he smiled. After tonight, we are completely free. The restaurant was an upscale steakhouse downtown. Michael had booked a private VIP room to ensure complete privacy. We arrived 30 minutes early. Mom sits at the head of the table. Raymond and Cindy on the left. Us on the right, Michael pointed to the seating arrangement. I already tipped the waiter generously and told him not to enter unless called. I nodded, taking a deep breath. My phone buzzed. Karen Times. Good luck. Remember, you are going into a boardroom negotiation, not a family therapy session. Take no prisoners. I replied with a fist bump emoji. At 6:30, the relatives started trickling in. Aunt Lucille and Uncle Peter arrived first. They looked incredibly awkward seeing me, considering I had blocked both of them just days ago. Mike, Claire. You look lovely. Lucille forced a tight smile. Aunt Lucille. I gave a polite, detached nod. Peter ignored me and engaged Michael. So Mike, I hear you left the firm. Smart home tech startups are a massive gamble, son. His eyes clearly communicated his disdain. Leaving a stable family empire for a risky tech venture was idiocy in his book. By 6:50, Dorothy arrived with Raymond's family. She was wearing a deep burgundy dress, but the dark circles under her eyes betrayed her exhaustion. Cindy walked in wearing a soft yellow dress, playing the meek, supportive daughter-in-law. When she saw me, she quickly averted her eyes. Raymond just looked incredibly tense. Mom. Michael pulled out the chair at the head of the table. Dorothy sat down. She looked around the room and her eyes suddenly welled with tears. The whole family was here. The atmosphere was thick with tension. Everyone is here. We can start the service, Michael told the waiter, his expression unreadable. The food was brought out, high-end cuts of steak, expensive wine. Michael had spared no expense. It was a strategic move to show he was doing perfectly fine without the family money. Mike, this must have cost a fortune, Lucille noted, sipping her Cabernet. It's necessary. Michael stood up and raised his glass. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. Everyone raised their glasses. After taking a sip, Michael set his glass down and took my hand, intertwining our fingers on top of the table. Everyone's eyes locked onto our hands. I gathered you all here to make a formal, binding declaration regarding our family dynamics moving forward. Michael's voice was commanding. The room went dead silent. Utensils were placed down. Dorothy's hands started to shake. First, Claire and I have officially moved out and will remain in our downtown condo. Mom can stay in the family estate or she can rent it out. The rental income will be 100% hers. Dorothy went pale. Mike, I cut. Let me finish, Mom, Michael. Cut her off. Second, regarding your living expenses. I will wire $2,000 every single month to your account. If you have medical bills, I will cover exactly 50%. This financial support is contingent on one absolute condition: you respect Claire, and you stay entirely out of our marriage. Third, he swept his gaze across the relatives. Our personal lives, including when, how, or if we decide to have children, are our business. No one has the right to interrogate us, and absolutely no one has the right to use it as a weapon against Claire. And fourth, the most important point. Michael looked directly at Dorothy, his eyes turning to ice. If anyone ever shows up at Claire's workplace again or attempts to slander her, professionally or personally, I will take immediate legal action. That includes filing police reports for harassment and suing for defamation. A suffocating silence blanketed the VIP room. Dorothy's lips trembled. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Michael, because of this woman, you're threatening to sue your own mother. I just want respect for my wife, Mom. Michael paused. If you can't provide that, we need distance. Distance. Dorothy's voice cracked into a shriek. I raised you for 30 years, and my reward is distance. You ungrateful. You raised me, and I am eternally grateful, which is why I am paying for your lifestyle. Michael remained unnervingly calm. But Claire owes you absolutely nothing. She married me to be my partner, not your indentured servant. Servant Dorothy exploded. She lived in my house, ate my food, and for 3 years she couldn't even give me a grandchild, and I'm the villain. That's enough. Michael pushed his chair back violently. Mom, please. I stood up, placing a hand on Michael's shoulder to calm him. Then I looked at Dorothy. My voice was crystal clear. You're right. For 3 years, I lived under your roof and ate your food. So tonight, in front of the entire family, let's settle the bill. I reached into my designer handbag, pulled out a leather-bound notebook, and opened it. Year 1 of marriage. I quit my job and managed the house. The absolute baseline salary for a full-time live-in housekeeper and chef in this city is $40,000 a year. Year 2. You had gallbladder surgery. I was your full-time 24/7 medical aide and nurse for a month and a half. The market rate for private home health care is $300 a day. Let's call it $15,000. Year 3. You decided to renovate the west wing of the estate. I acted as the general contractor and project manager for 4 months, dealing with permits and labor. A conservative project management fee for a job that size is $25,000. I looked up from the notebook, locking eyes with Dorothy, whose face was turning a sickly shade of green. Over 3 years, my unpaid labor for the Davis family equates to roughly $120,000. If you account for overtime, emotional damages, and market inflation, let's round it up to $150,000. If you truly feel I owe you for the groceries I ate, I can write you a check right now, minus my $150,000 invoice. Would you like me to process that? The relatives were paralyzed with shock. Even Michael looked slightly surprised. He didn't know I had actually crunched the numbers. You're charging me, Dorothy gasped. No, I'm just auditing the relationship. I closed the notebook with a snap. I didn't think this way before. I thought family did things out of love, but I realize now that some people view family as free labor. Claire Miller Raymond slammed his hand on the table. How dare you speak to your mother like that, Raymond? Michael stepped in front of me. Did she say a single word that wasn't factually accurate? Mom got sick. Claire bathed her. Mom wanted renovations. Claire managed them. For 3 years, she ran that massive house. Have you ever lifted a finger? Raymond had no answer. Cindy mumbled under her breath. But Claire didn't have a job. Wasn't it her duty to help around the house, Cindy? I shot her a glare. You work an office job. When you clock out, how many times have you cooked dinner for mom, scrubbed her toilets, or managed her contractors? If being a daughter-in-law is a duty, maybe you should quit your job and take over the estate. Cindy flushed bright red and shut her mouth. All right, let's calm down. Uncle Peter tried to play peacemaker. We're family. Why are we talking about invoices and lawsuits? Claire, your mother-in-law just said a few harsh words. Why are you so sensitive, Uncle Peter? I cut him off. If your mother-in-law showed up at your corporate office, screamed that you were mentally unstable in front of your boss, and tried to get you fired, would you just call that a few harsh words? Peter swallowed hard, looking away. Seeing the tide turning, Aunt Lucille shifted tactics and looked at Michael. Mike, are you really going to let your wife disrespect her elders like this? Where are your manners, Aunt Lucille? Michael said coldly. In my house, respect is earned, not inherited. You respect my wife, I respect you. You don't. Then expect me to be just as disrespectful back. Lucille trembled with indignation. Suddenly, Dorothy burst into loud, hysterical sobs. Why is God punishing me? I raised an ungrateful son who married a vicious woman. I wish I were dead. I should just die. Times. The nuclear option. Tears. Hysteria. Threats of self-harm. In the past, whenever she started crying, I would fold. Michael would concede. But tonight, Michael just looked at her with clinical detachment. Mom, if you actually wanted to die, you wouldn't be sitting in a luxury steakhouse crying for an audience. You just want everyone to think I'm an ungrateful monster and Claire is the villain. Dorothy's crying hitched. She looked up, raw fear in her eyes. She realized her ultimate trump card no longer worked. We've said everything we came to say. Michael sat back down. From this moment forward, Claire and I are living our own lives. If any of you want to have a healthy, respectful relationship with us, our door is open. If you want to meddle, criticize, or play victim, lose our number. He raised his wine glass one last time. This is the final toast. The dinner is over. Have a good night. Michael drained his glass. The relatives exchanged panicked glances, then awkwardly picked up their glasses to drink. Dorothy didn't move. She just stared at us, her lips quivering, entirely defeated. Check, please, Michael flagged the waiter. He paid the massive bill, then grabbed my hand. Let's go. As we walked out of the room, I glanced back. Dorothy was slumped in her chair, staring blankly into space. Cindy was awkwardly patting her shoulder. Raymond looked furious but helpless. The aunts and uncles were whispering furiously. It was a final goodbye to the submissive Claire Miller, and a permanent goodbye to the suffocating grip of the Davis family. Stepping out of the restaurant, the crisp night air hit my face. I squeezed Michael's hand tightly. I felt an incredible lightness. It might get worse before it gets better. Michael warned as we walked to the car. Mom doesn't lose gracefully. I know. I leaned my head on his shoulder. But I'm not scared, because no matter what she does, I know you're on my side. Always. He kissed my forehead. For 3 days following that dinner, there was total radio silence from the Davis family. I officially started my role as senior designer. At the Monday morning all-hands meeting, Vera publicly praised the community center project. The collaboration between Claire and Leah has been incredibly productive. The city council absolutely loved the industrial botanical visualizations Vera announced. Claire, you and Leah will co-lead this project through to the construction phase. The team applauded. Leah beamed with pride. After the meeting, Karen gave me a discreet thumbs up. You're killing it. See, I told you. It was mostly Leah's brilliant concept, I admitted humbly. Has the monster-in-law bothered you? Karen whispered as we walked to our desks. Not yet. I organized my folders. But this is the calm before the storm. I'm keeping my guard up. Good. Oh, by the way, our college alumni networking gala is this Saturday. You going? Everyone's been asking about you. I hesitated. After college, I had basically vanished from my social circles to play housewife. I felt ashamed that the top student in the design program had amounted to a maid. You should go, Karen nudged me. Show everyone that the queen is back. Okay, I nodded. I'll go. Work had given me back my sense of self-worth. The days flew by. I was knee-deep in contractor meetings and material sourcing. On Thursday afternoon, Leah came to my desk looking stressed. Claire, the city wants to add a dedicated children's reading nook, but they refuse to increase the budget. How do we swing that? Let me look at the floor plan. I analyzed the blueprints. What if we convert this old janitorial storage bay? We knocked down this non-load-bearing wall and my cell phone rang. Unknown number. I answered, assuming it was a contractor. Hello, hello, is this Miss Claire Miller? A stern professional female voice asked. Yes, speaking. This is the ER admitting desk at Memorial Hospital. Dorothy Davis has just been brought in by ambulance. She is in critical condition in the ICU. Please come immediately. My blood ran cold. What happened? Preliminary diagnosis is an ischemic stroke, the nurse said. You are listed as her emergency contact in our system. Please notify the rest of the family. I dropped the phone. Claire, are you okay? Leah asked, alarmed. My mother-in-law. She's in the ICU. Stroke. I mechanically packed my bag. Oh my God. Go, I'll handle the blueprints, Leah urged. I called Michael, my hands shaking. Mike, Mom is at Memorial Hospital. She had a stroke. She's in the ICU. A beat of heavy silence. I'm on my way, don't panic. When I arrived at the hospital, Michael was already there speaking with a doctor. Raymond and Cindy had just run through the double doors, Cindy's eyes red from crying. Doctor, how is she? Michael asked. She suffered an acute ischemic stroke. Doctor. Evans adjusted his glasses. Thankfully, the paramedics arrived quickly and we administered TPA to break the clot. The immediate crisis is over, but she needs to be monitored in the ICU. The doctor looked at the group. She has a history of hypertension. Why was she subjected to such extreme emotional stress? Stress. Michael frowned. What happened? The paramedics noted that she was involved in a severe screaming match with a neighbor on her street right before she collapsed. Doctor, Evans said. We walked into the ICU bay. Dorothy was lying in a hospital bed, hooked up to monitors and IVs. She looked incredibly frail, having aged 10 years in a matter of hours. When she saw us, her eyes flickered and her mouth moved. But she couldn't speak clearly. Mom Cindy rushed to the bedside sobbing. Why did this happen? Just because of some ungrateful people you put yourself in the hospital. The comment was a direct arrow at me. Raymond glared at me with a complicated mix of anger and grief. Claire, if something happens to Mom. Raymond. Michael cut him off instantly. The doctor said she was fighting with a neighbor. About what Raymond hesitated and looked at Cindy. Cindy sniffled, wiping her eyes. Who else? The neighborhood gossips. Mom was walking the dog, and a neighbor asked why they hadn't seen Mike and Claire around. Mom said something, and the neighbor started talking back, saying, Mom had driven you two away. Mom heard it and lost her temper. A neighbor talking back. I knew my mother-in-law. She didn't just say something. She was probably out there playing the victim, slandering my name to the neighborhood watch. And when someone called her out, her blood pressure spiked. So she was gossiping and got called out, Michael deduced immediately. Mike, look at your mother. How can you be so cold? Raymond pleaded. Can't you two just... Raymond, I spoke up, my voice steady. Mom is sick. We will take care of her. Whatever the medical bills are, Mike and I will pay our exact half. But if you are trying to blame her stroke on me, let's get something straight. I pulled out my phone and pulled up my voice memos. 3 nights ago at the restaurant, I recorded the entire conversation. Every threat, every insult. If you want, I can play it for the doctor right now and he can decide who the abuser is. The room went dead silent. Michael looked surprised. He hadn't known I recorded it either. Cindy went sheet white. Raymond stepped back. You recorded it, Cindy stuttered. People who tell the truth have nothing to hide. I put my phone away. Now let's discuss her care plan. I suggest we hire a professional 24/7 home health aide once she is discharged. Mike and I both work full-time. We cannot be here to bathe her. A nurse? Absolutely not, Raymond objected. Family takes care of family. Who is family? I challenged him. Cindy works full-time. You work full-time. Are you quitting your job to wipe her down? Is Cindy? Raymond fell silent. He was middle management at the family firm. He wasn't sacrificing his career. We are hiring a 24/7 care agency. Michael finalized the decision. I know a reputable firm. It's $6,000 a month. We split it down the middle. $3,000 per couple. $3,000 a month, Cindy gasped. That's insane. We have a mortgage. Do you have a better idea? I looked at her. Are you submitting your 2 weeks' notice tomorrow? Cindy glared but stayed quiet. With Michael applying relentless pressure, they finally agreed to the care agency. We signed the paperwork and paid the hospital deposit. When we left the hospital, it was pitch black outside. In the car, Michael sighed. I texted a buddy who lives in Mom's neighborhood to find out what actually happened. And Mom didn't just get defensive. She actively approached the neighbors to complain that you were a gold digger who brainwashed her son. One of the neighbors, a retired nurse, bluntly told her, "I heard you slapped the poor girl in public. If I had a mother-in-law like you, I would have filed a restraining order." Mom lost her mind, started screaming, and collapsed. I sat there in shock. I asked my buddy to send that neighbor a fruit basket. Michael smiled bitterly. "It hurts, but it's the truth." She literally made herself sick with her own toxicity. Back at the apartment, I collapsed onto the sofa. My phone rang. It was Karen. "Claire, how is your mother-in-law stable?" "But she's in the ICU." I summarized the madness. Karen was quiet for a second. "I don't know if I should tell you this." "Tell me." Today, right before she collapsed, she called the firm. Karen's voice was dead serious. She called HR. "Claimed you lied on your resume that you stole money from her and demanded we fire you immediately." I shot up from the sofa. About 2 hours before you got the call from the hospital, Karen said, "Our HR rep knew about the drama and basically told her to kick rocks, but I thought you needed to know. She is actively trying to destroy your livelihood." So times was what triggered the stroke. She failed to get me fired, went outside in a rage, picked a fight with a neighbor, got publicly shamed, and her blood pressure blew a gasket. A cycle of her own making. "Karen, thank you for telling me." "What are you going to do?" Karen asked. "You got lucky today with a sympathetic HR rep. What if she calls your clients next, I know?" My knuckles turned white, gripping the phone. "I'm ending this." After hanging up, I told Michael everything. He looked murderous. "She wants to back you into a corner where you starve. We can't be passive anymore. Mike, I want to sue her." Michael froze. "Sue her. Publicly slapping me is assault and battery. Calling my employer to spread malicious lies to get me fired is tortious interference and defamation," I said calmly. "I endured her for 3 years for your sake, but now she's trying to destroy my career. I am done taking the high road." Michael looked at me with a complex mix of sorrow and pride. "Have you thought this through? If you serve her with papers, there is no going back." We passed the point of no return at the restaurant. I smiled sadly. "Mike, do you know what the sickest part is? If she had succeeded today, I would have been fired. I would have lost my income. I would have been entirely dependent on you again, tied to the Davis family, and she could have abused me forever." "She isn't just stubborn. She is actively malicious." Michael was silent for a long time before he finally nodded. "Okay, I support you. I have a friend who specializes in civil litigation." "No," I interrupted. "This time I'm doing this myself. I'll find my own lawyer. I'll gather the evidence. Mike, this is my fight. But you aren't fighting alone." He squeezed my hand. The next day, I took a half-day off and went to a top-tier law firm downtown. I met with Attorney Cross, a sharp, no-nonsense litigator. After reviewing my case, she adjusted her glasses. "Miss Miller, the grounds are incredibly solid. A public assault with 20 witnesses is a slam dunk for battery. Calling your employer with provably false statements to terminate your employment is textbook defamation per se. We can demand a formal public retraction, a cease and desist, and significant financial damages. I want to file the paperwork," I said. "Civil, criminal, whatever it takes. I want her to understand that actions have consequences. We will start by serving her with a formal demand letter and a cease and desist," Attorney Cross advised. "If she refuses to sign the apology and pay the settlement, we file the lawsuit." Leaving the law firm, I stood on the sunny sidewalk and felt an unbelievable sense of liberation. Using the law to protect myself felt incredibly empowering. My phone rang. "Cindy, Claire." Mom woke up, her voice sounded exhausted. "She wants to see you." "The doctor said she shouldn't be stressed," I replied evenly. "Can't you just let it go?" Cindy pleaded. "Do you know she called your office yesterday? She was just confused." "I know she called my office, Cindy." "To get me fired?" I corrected her. Dead silence. "You know, yes," I smiled to myself. "So don't ask me to let it go. I am not her mother. I have no obligation to coddle her." "Claire, how can you be so cold-blooded?" Cindy's voice shook. "She is lying in a hospital bed. I'll be at the hospital in an hour." I cut her off. "I have something to deliver to her." I took an Uber straight to Memorial Hospital. I texted Michael on the way times, heading to the hospital to confront Mom. "Don't worry, I won't cause a scene." He replied instantly times. "I'm already here. I'll wait for you." In the hospital room, Dorothy was awake but still on oxygen. Her speech was slightly slurred. When she saw me, her eyes darkened and she looked away. "Mom." I walked up to the bed and set down a fruit basket. "Are you feeling better?" She remained silent. Raymond and Cindy stood nearby, tense. Mom, I need to tell you something. I pulled up a chair and sat down. Yesterday you called my company and demanded they fire me. Is that correct? Dorothy's body went rigid. Don't bother denying it. HR has the call logged, I continued. Additionally, last Sunday you slapped me across the face in front of 20 witnesses. Because of these two actions, I have retained an attorney. You're suing me, Dorothy gasped out, struggling to form the words. I nodded. A formal demand letter and cease and desist will arrive via certified mail tomorrow. If you agree to issue a written apology and pay the civil damages for defamation, I will consider dropping the lawsuit. If not, I will see you in court. Claire Miller, are you even human? Raymond exploded. Your mother-in-law is in a hospital bed recovering from a stroke, and you are serving her with a lawsuit, Raymond. I stood up and looked him in the eye. If she had succeeded in getting me fired yesterday, how would I have survived? It wouldn't have been simple. You back off. Raymond took a step back from the absolute ice in my glare. Mom, I used to respect you as an elder. I accommodated everything. I looked down at Dorothy. That you took my patience for weakness and my respect for submission. That stops today. You hit me, I sue you. You sabotage my career, I sue you. If you keep doing it, I will bankrupt you in legal fees until you learn basic human decency. Dorothy shook with rage. The heart monitor began to beep rapidly. Claire, stop it. Look at her heart rate, Cindy tried to intervene. Cindy, you're not exempt. I turned to her. If you continue to post passive-aggressive slander on Facebook, I will add you to the defamation suit. Read the law. Cindy went completely pale and clamped her mouth shut. At that moment, Michael walked in holding a folder. Mom, this is the contract for the 24/7's care agency. I've already signed it. Raymond and I are splitting the bill. He placed it on the bedside table. The doctor said you need to be here for at least 2 weeks. We'll rotate visits, but the nurses will handle your daily care. Rest well. Don't scheme anymore. Dorothy tried to speak, but only managed a choked sob. We have to go. Michael took my hand. Mom, look out for the lawyer's letter tomorrow. Don't forget to sign it. Walking out of the hospital, I took a massive, shuddering breath. Did you say everything you needed to say? Michael asked. Everything. I nodded, feeling 10 pounds lighter. Good. He smiled. The demand letter goes out tomorrow. And I've already asked my buddies to leak the exact details of why Mom had a stroke to the entire neighborhood. Now everyone knows she ended up in the ICU because she assaulted you, tried to get you fired, and couldn't handle being called out for it. I stopped walking. You weaponized the neighborhood gossip. She values her reputation more than anything. Michael's eyes were cold, so I took it from her. I looked at the man beside me and realized he was far more formidable and fiercely protective than I had ever known. Let's go home. He wrapped an arm around my waist. What's for dinner? I'm cooking. Something simple. I leaned into him. Mike, I need to tell you. I think I've changed. I'm not a nice person anymore. Kindness is only for those who deserve it. He kissed my temple. For those who don't, kindness is just stupidity. You didn't become mean, Claire. You just grew up. 3 days after the demand letter was delivered to the hospital, Raymond called Michael. He was furious. Mike, are you seriously letting your wife sue our mother? Are you insane? He was yelling so loud I could hear it from the couch. Michael put the phone on speaker, set it on the kitchen island, and kept chopping vegetables. Claire is an independent woman. She has the right to sue whoever defames her. She has no right to sue her mother-in-law, Raymond screamed. Mom is in the hospital you guys haven't visited, and now she's getting served by a process server. The neighbors are saying you two gave her the stroke. She gave herself a stroke, Michael said calmly. Because she couldn't handle the truth. Ray, do you want to know what the neighbors are actually saying? Dead silence on the line. They're saying Mom slapped Claire, tried to get her fired, and got hit with instant karma, Michael said. Everyone knows. They aren't wondering times she's sick. They're gossiping about how evil times she must be to end up with a lawsuit in the ICU. What? What are you talking about? Raymond panicked. I just made sure the truth got out. Michael's voice didn't waver. Mom doesn't get to control the narrative anymore while we suffer in silence. Mike, you're going to kill her. The stress is going to kill her. Her own malice will kill her, not us. Michael stopped chopping. Ray, you have 2 choices. 1, convince Mom to sign the settlement issue, the public apology, and pay Claire the damages. 2, we go to civil court and the public record of her assault and defamation becomes front-page news. What do you think is better for Mom? Click. Raymond hung up. I looked at Michael. It's not really about the money, is it? It's about principle. He wiped his hands and came over to the couch. If she signs and pays, she legally admits fault. If she refuses, we go to court and bankrupt her reputation entirely. I nodded. But deep down, I knew Dorothy. She would never apologize. And I was right. The next day, Cindy called me. Claire. Mom got the letter. Cindy sounded exhausted. She ripped it up. She said she'll fight you to the bitter end. Can't you just drop it? Why do we have to go to court and become a public laughingstock? The laughing started a long time ago, Cindy. I was reviewing blueprints while on the phone. When she slapped me. When she tried to get me fired. I'm just using the legal system to protect myself. But the family's reputation. Mom ruined the reputation, not me. I interrupted. Cindy, if you really want to help convince her to settle, it's a drop in the bucket for the Davis estate. And a written apology. That is a massive compromise on my end. Cindy was silent. And if I can't convince her, then I'll see you all in civil court, I said firmly. And a judge's ruling carries a lot more weight than neighborhood gossip. Meanwhile, the community center project entered the construction phase. Leah and I were on site, constantly dealing with contractors and breathing in drywall dust. But I felt alive. Seeing my designs become physical reality was an unparalleled high. Claire, look at these tile samples. Does this match the aesthetic? Leah held up a ceramic square. It matches, but let's go with the lighter gray. It expands the space visually, I noted. And make sure the rubber flooring in the kids' zone is double thick. Safety first. My phone buzzed. Karen. Claire, your mother-in-law strikes again. Karen sounded incredibly anxious. She somehow tracked down the client's number. My blood ran cold. The city council director, yes, Karen said. She called the director's office. Claimed you have a history of embezzlement, that your designs are structurally unsound, and demanded they pull you off the project. I saw red. Luckily, the director is a rational woman. She didn't buy it and called Vera directly to verify Karen's side. But Vera said this needs to be permanently handled. If this gets out to the press, it's a PR nightmare for the firm. Karen, tell Vera I will handle it today. I forced my voice to remain calm, though I was shaking with fury. I am going to the director's office to explain everything in person. And after that, I'm filing the lawsuit. Today. That afternoon, Leah and I drove to the city administration building. We met with the director, a sharp woman in her late 50s. I am so incredibly sorry for the disruption. Director, I bowed my head slightly. My mother-in-law and I are involved in a severe domestic and legal dispute. She is maliciously targeting my career. I apologize on her behalf. The director waved her hand. Claire, Vera gave me the rundown on your family situation. Honestly, I admire you. I was stunned. I'm a woman in politics. I had a nightmare mother-in-law, too. The director poured me a cup of coffee. When she called today, I was furious at first. But then I realized if she had legitimate claims, she wouldn't be making anonymous, hysterical phone calls. She'd bring receipts. Tears pricked my eyes. Thank you so much for your understanding. But Claire, you need to lock this down. She turned serious. I'm understanding. The next client might not be. You're a designer. Your reputation is your currency. I have a lawyer. We are filing a defamation lawsuit this week, I promised. Good. She smiled. Now back to business. I absolutely love the children's reading nook. The mothers in this district are going to lose their minds over it. Leaving the city building, I felt a wave of relief followed by a tidal wave of anger. When I got home, Michael was waiting. He already knew. The director called one of my startup investors. Michael frowned. Word travels fast. She advised us to neutralize the threat. I'm pulling the trigger on the lawsuit. Tomorrow, I said. I am not stopping until she is legally bound to leave me alone. Michael pulled me into a hug. I'm so sorry. She just won't stop. I'm not hurt, just angry. I leaned into him. She hates me so much that she wants to take everything from me. She hates that she can't control you anymore, Michael corrected. When you were in that house, you were her property. Now you're free. It terrifies her. Mike, I want to do one more thing. I looked up. What? I'm going to post everything in the extended family group chat, I said. Not to complain. To state the facts. I want every single aunt, uncle, and cousin to see the evidence of what she did so they can't blindly take her side. Do it. Michael supported me without hesitation. That night, I drafted a long message. I attached the HR call logs, the email from the city director detailing the harassment, and a PDF of the demand letter from my lawyer. Dear Family Times, I wrote, I am sending this not to cause drama, but to provide transparency. First, Mom has been actively trying to destroy my career with provably false allegations to my employers and city officials. Second, because of this, I have officially retained legal counsel and am filing a lawsuit for defamation and harassment. Third, if this continues, I will involve the police. The disgrace being brought upon this family is not my doing. I am simply defending my livelihood. I hit send. The group chat of over 20 relatives immediately blew up. Aunt Lucille times Claire. What are you doing? Mom is in the ICU times Uncle Peter times keep family business off the internet. Delete this immediately times. A cousin times Claire. She's old. She made a mistake. Can't you forgive her times? I stared at the screen and smirked. As always, regardless of the facts, their default response was, just forgive her, I replied. Times I am merely stating facts to protect myself from further slander. The lawsuit is moving forward. The chat went quiet. And then a message popped up from someone I never expected. Raymond. Claire is telling the truth. Mom did slap her. Mom did try to get her fired, and now she is harassing Claire's clients. I tried to talk to Mom, but she won't listen. In this matter, I am standing with Mike and Claire. The message was a bombshell. Even Michael was shocked. A minute later, Cindy chimed in. Times Mom has gone way too far this time. Claire, I am so sorry if I ever defended her actions. I looked at the phone and understood perfectly. Raymond and Cindy hadn't suddenly grown morals. They simply realized that Dorothy was a sinking ship, and taking her side meant they would go down with her socially and legally. Michael's phone buzzed. It was a private text from Raymond. Mike, Mom is out of control. I will testify for Claire if it goes to court. I won't stand in your way. But regarding the hospital bills, Michael texted back times. We'll still split the medical bills. But you handle the fallout with the relatives. Understood times. Michael looked at me. Raymond and Cindy defected. I expected it, I said calmly. They go whichever way the wind blows. But at least now Mom has absolutely no one left to defend her. Just then, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered it. Miss Miller, this is Dr. Evans from Memorial Hospital Neurology. His voice was grave. Your mother-in-law is currently suffering a severe panic episode. Her blood pressure is through the roof. We had to sedate her. She kept repeating your name, saying you were trying to destroy her. I gripped the phone tightly. Doctor, we are involved in a severe legal dispute because she is trying to destroy my career. I did not initiate this. I understand. Dr. Evans sighed. I'm calling because her neurological state is incredibly fragile. If she continues to experience this level of stress, she is at extremely high risk for a second massive stroke. That could be fatal. I went quiet. As angry as I was, I didn't want her dead. I will stay away from the hospital, doctor, I finally said. I won't provoke her. But the legal proceedings my lawyer initiated cannot be stopped simply because she is ill. I understand. The doctor sounded relieved. Thank you for your cooperation. I hung up and relayed the conversation to Michael. What do we do now? I asked. Proceed. We proceed, Michael said firmly. But we can pivot our legal strategy. We have your lawyer draft a final ultimatum if she issues a public written apology and signs a legally binding non-disclosure and non-disparagement agreement. We put the lawsuit on hold indefinitely. If she breaches it, we sue. It gives her an out, but keeps the gun loaded. That's a smart compromise, I agreed. The next day, Attorney Cross drafted the final ultimatum and delivered it to the hospital. Michael also posted it in the family group chat. Mom, you have the ultimatum. This is your final warning. Sign the NDA, issue the apology, and it's over. If not, see you in court. The choice is yours. The chat remained dead silent. Everyone was holding their breath, waiting to see how the war would end. 3 days passed. Dorothy never signed the apology. But the harassment completely stopped. She lay in her hospital bed in utter silence. She didn't call, didn't complain. Even when Raymond and Cindy visited, she barely spoke. Michael's friends reported that the neighborhood had completely ostracized her, not out of anger but out of fear of getting sued themselves. And I moved on. The community center project was a massive success. The Children's Reading Nook was the star of the show. Michael's startup secured a massive Series A funding round. He was incredibly busy, but he always made it home for dinner. From my mother-in-law's end, there was only silence. It felt like we had finally found peace. Until one Saturday night, a month later, Michael's phone rang. Mike, get to the hospital now. Mom collapsed. Raymond's voice was frantic. When we arrived, Dorothy was already in the ICU. Raymond and Cindy were pacing the hallway, pale as ghosts. What happened? Michael demanded. I don't know. Raymond pulled at his hair. We were having dinner at the house. Everything was fine. Then she said she was dizzy and just collapsed. The doctors think it's a second stroke. The red times in use times light above the ICU doors blared. The hallway was terrifyingly quiet. I sat on a plastic bench, my mind racing. Was I still angry? Yes. But seeing her back in the ICU, it was just tragic. An hour later, Dr. Evans emerged. She survived. But this one was much more severe. The entire left side of her body is paralyzed. She will require extensive, long-term rehabilitation. Also, we discovered she had abruptly stopped taking her prescribed antidepressants a week ago. The sudden withdrawal likely triggered the hypertensive crisis. She stopped her meds. We were all stunned. Patients often stop their meds when they feel hopeless or depressed. Dr. Evans shook his head. It's incredibly dangerous. Prepare yourselves. She will likely never be able to live independently again. Dorothy was moved to a long-term care wing. Through the glass, I saw her. Hooked to machines, a feeding tube in her nose, looking as fragile as a broken doll. The domineering, cruel matriarch who had controlled the Davis family with an iron fist was gone forever. Raymond walked over to us. Mike, what do we do now? We hire a 24/7 live-in nurse, Michael said. We split the cost. It's not just about money. Raymond sighed. Mom needs her family. Can you and Claire come visit her? Just occasionally, Michael looked at me, deferring the decision. I looked through the glass at the woman who had slapped me, who had tried to ruin my life, who had spewed the most venomous words I had ever heard. I nodded slowly. We'll visit. Not out of forgiveness, but out of pity. For the next 3 months, Michael and I visited twice a week, staying for exactly 30 minutes. We hired the best physical therapists. But I knew her old life was over. One afternoon, I grabbed coffee with Karen. How's the mother-in-law? She asked. In rehab. It's slow, I stirred my latte. If she ever regains the ability to feed herself, it'll be a miracle. Karen was quiet. Are you still angry at her? I am, I admitted. But there's no point in harboring hatred for a paralyzed, helpless old woman. I just want to live my life. Good for you. Karen squeezed my hand. You know what I love most about you. You know how to fight, but you refuse to let the anger rot you from the inside out. I smiled. I had much better things to focus on. My community center design had just been nominated for a prestigious citywide architectural award. Michael's startup had just signed a massive enterprise contract. Our lives were finally flourishing. When fall arrived, I attended the City Architecture Gala in a stunning emerald evening gown. When they announced the Silver Award winner, my name echoed through the ballroom. I walked up to the stage, the spotlight hitting my face. I felt an overwhelming wave of validation. Let's hear a few words from Miss Claire Miller. The host handed me the microphone. I looked out at the audience. In the front row, Michael was beaming, clapping louder than anyone. Karen, Vera, and Leah were cheering. Thank you, my voice trembled slightly. This award means the world to me. 3 years ago, I abandoned my career, believing that serving a family was a woman's ultimate calling. Today, standing here, I realize that a woman's true value isn't found in how well she serves others, but in how fiercely she builds herself. The ballroom erupted in applause. I want to thank my husband, who stood by me in my darkest hour. I want to thank my colleagues for giving me a second chance. And finally, I want to thank myself, the woman who was once weak but found the courage to fight back. Never abandon yourselves. You are the architects of your own lives. I walked off the stage straight into Michael's arms. He handed me a bouquet of sunflowers. For the most brilliant woman I know. That night we celebrated until 2 a.m. Riding in the Uber home looking at the city lights, I turned to Michael. Mike, I have an idea. Shoot! I want to open my own boutique design studio, I said, focusing on renovating old spaces for women starting over. A fresh start. Michael's eyes lit up. I love it. I'll front the capital. I'll find the office space. No, I gripped his hand. This time I'm doing it on my own, but I will gladly take your advice. He smiled, kissing my knuckles. Always. 3 months later, I opened Times Claire's space. Small, chic, and entirely mine. My first client was a newly divorced woman recommended by Karen. I just want a space that's mine. To forget the past and start over, she told me. Me too, I smiled. Let's build it together. On New Year's Eve, the Davis family gathered at the old estate. Dorothy was sitting in a specialized wheelchair. The left side of her face drooped slightly, but she looked healthier. Raymond and Cindy had cooked a massive dinner. Michael and I brought wine. The atmosphere was slightly stiff but peaceful. During dinner, Dorothy suddenly spoke. Her words were slurred but understandable. Claire, I'm sorry. The room went completely silent. I was wrong. Tears leaked from her eyes. You are. A good daughter-in-law. I looked at the woman I had once despised with every fiber of my being. Did I feel anger? No. Did I feel love? No. But the resentment was finally gone. It's in the past, Mom. I placed a piece of roasted turkey on her plate. It's a new year. Let's just focus on getting better. Getting better, she repeated, crying quietly. After dinner, Michael and I stood on the back patio, watching the neighborhood fireworks explode in the distance. A year ago, I was packing my bags. I leaned against his chest. It feels like a lifetime ago. From a bullied housewife to a studio, CEO Michael wrapped his arms around me. Sometimes I think if she hadn't slapped you, maybe we'd still be suffocating in this house. I'm not thankful for the slap. I shook my head. I'm thankful for my own courage to walk out after it happened. And I'm thankful for you. I'll always be right here, he kissed the top of my head. The fireworks continued to light up the night sky. I thought about the Claire Miller from a year ago. The tears, the fear, the interview, the hospital showdown, the legal threats. All that pain had forged the absolute peace I felt today. Mike, I want to write a book, I said suddenly. About what? Our story. For all the women out there who are suffocating in toxic marriages and abusive families. To tell them that domestic abuse isn't just family business, it's a crime. To tell them that financial independence is their strongest armor. To tell them to stand up. That's a beautiful idea. Michael held me tight. I'll help you. Maybe once the studio is more stable, I smiled. There's no rush. We have the rest of our lives. Yes, the rest of our lives. To heal, to create, to love, and to be the absolute best version of myself. The fireworks faded, leaving the sky dark, but I knew the dawn was coming. A new year, a new beginning. And I was ready. Ready for the challenges, the triumphs, and everything in between. Because I knew that no matter what the future held, I had the courage to stand my ground. The right to choose my path, and the absolute power to say times no. That slap taught me that. And this story is my gift to every woman who needs to hear it.